everyone, I'm Kathy Dawson and welcome to Can You Relate, Cleveland's relationship show. This is a show for you and all of your relationships, whether it's you and your spouse, you and your kids, you and your doctor, you and your pet, whatever it is, this show is here to help. Now, every week that we start the show, I like to do a little chat with you because I like to tell you a few things that happened to me during the week. This week, I met a really nice couple named Dave and Danielle. And what I want to tell you about this couple is the proposal story they told me. Now remember last week in the Get a Life segment, we talked about hot air ballooning. Well, Dave proposed to Danielle in a hot air balloon. And here's a picture of them. Notice how nervous he looks. What they did was they got off the ground about 200 feet and he had orchestrated two people who worked for the company to roll out a sign that said, "Danielle, will you marry me?" So picture this, they're 200 feet above the air, which is a really exhilarating feeling anyway. Then to look down and have somebody ask you to marry him. Then, this is kind of funny, he jumps down on the bottom of the basket, right, to get on his knee. Well, the basket starts to do this. Luckily, they did not fall out. But I just thought their story was so adorable that I wanted to share it. Now, we have a lot coming up on the show, so let's get to it. First thing we're going to talk about is when is the last time you sat down and actually wrote a letter and sent it to someone? We're going to talk about how to do that because with today's technology, many people don't do that. Then the next thing we're going to talk about is taking care of yourself. The best way to take care of yourself is really doing diagnostic tools, using tools. For women, it happens to be breast screening, so we're going to talk about that. The next thing is you and your money. This is a huge relationship. You know, we interact with the dollar probably more than we do with people, so we have someone talking about that. Then, when are you supposed to help your child? And when are you supposed to let your child make a mistake? I'm actually going to give you advice on that. But first, have you ever tried to lose weight? Who cannot relate to this? In our first segment, you're going to meet a couple who lost weight together, so follow me. Hello, welcome. All right, so losing weight is no small challenge. Can it be easier if you do it with your spouse? We have a couple here, Debbie and Maurice, who have done this together, and we have Dr. Barbara Berkeley, who has some insights for us on this. Now, Dr. Berkeley is the medical director of weight management for Lake Health System, and you also have your own practice, Weight Management Partners. And she's written a book called Refuse to Regain, 12 Tough Rules to Maintain the Body You've Earned. So, first let's talk to you two. You look great. It's really hard to believe that that you ever had weight you had to lose. So tell us a little bit about this.
Well, I reached about 230 pounds about 3 years ago, and one morning I woke up and decided that just wasn't right for me. A friend of mine who's a bodybuilder gave me some advice to just start walking a mile every day, change nothing else, and I would lose some weight. I'm a little bit more competitive than that, so a mile walk turned into a mile run, turned into a 5K, which sounds better than 3 miles.
Wow. Wow. How about you, Debbie? How did you get into this?
Well, I've been doing Weight Watchers off and on over the last 15 years, and I'd lose the weight and I'd put it back on. One of the main reasons I started this with Maurice 3 years ago was our wedding bands wouldn't fit us anymore.
Okay, stop there for a second. We don't realize when we gain weight where it spreads out. I mean, your digits. I mean, that's not that you were huge, but that says something that you couldn't put your wedding ring on.
Right. And I was taking medication for high blood pressure and close to having to take it for cholesterol, and I'd seen some problems with other people and I just didn't want to do it. So we started running together.
That's really great. Now, how much, if I may ask, how much did you lose?
I've lost 30 pounds. But in the last year I've only lost 5, but I've gone from a size 14 to a size 16 pair of jeans, and recently I had to get smaller underwear for the second time in a year.
You know you're doing well when your underwear changes. That's right. Okay. Now, how much did you lose?
I lost a total of 80 pounds over 3 years.
That's great. That is so cool. So, Dr. Berkeley, is this typical? I mean, really?
Well, I can't say that it's typical, but I would say that Debbie and Maurice are role models. And they show that couples can achieve incredible things when they work together. There's a power that comes from doing things in couples. They reinforce one another and they help one another very greatly, and this is what we really want to see. unfortunately, what we do see in reality often when people try to lose weight as a couple is sometimes when one person loses weight, the other person feels threatened.
Like they sabotage it, sort of?
Yes, and sometimes we'll see some sabotaging. You know, one person feels, gee, we can't go out to dinner anymore, we can't eat our favorite foods anymore, or perhaps one person's getting more attractive to the opposite sex, and that throws a monkey wrench into things.
Right. So when one person sabotages the other, what does that person do? I mean, what do you recommend?
Well, I think the best thing to say is you should keep going for it. In other words, even if you're being sabotaged, you should continue on. And I think there are two reasons for that. The first is that often your spouse will tag along with you, and I see this in my practice a lot. Somebody just keeps trying to lose weight, and the other person all of a sudden starts changing their behaviors, and that's a great thing. Okay. And then I think second, you have to make it clear to your spouse why you're doing this. If you sit them down and you say, you know, I'm doing this to give you the greatest gift, which is I want to be with you for the rest of your life, and I want to be able to take care of you, and that's better than any tie I could get you, it's better than any jewelry I could get you. And then very often that will.
Right. Now, I have to tell you, I know these two personally, and I know that they're race car drivers. So were you competitive at all in the beginning with this? Just real quickly.
Not really. We do race, but we did the race for the cure a few weeks ago, and I did beat him by a full second.
Oh, so. I knew that would happen.
The view was spectacular.
Oh. That's great. Well, if you think you want to lose weight and you have a partner who also wants to lose weight, Debbie and Maurice are real role models. And if you need help with this, you can get a hold of Dr. Berkeley. She has a practice, as I mentioned, Weight Management Partners. The number is 440-338-6009. And your book, Refuse to Regain, we can learn more about that on the website, refusetoregain.com. We have lots more coming up, so stay tuned. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here.
Up next, we'll introduce you to the lost art of letter writing and find out how it can make a difference in your relationship. And later in the show, is a mammogram the best way for you to find breast cancer at its earliest stage? We have an answer that may surprise you.
Craig and Mark Lindell and Grange Insurance understand that life is a series of brushstrokes, large and small. Moments from the everyday to the extraordinary. As you move through your world, let Grange Insurance and Lindell Insurance put the finishing touches on an insurance plan to meet your needs. Having Lindell Insurance and Grange handle your insurance while you stay in the moment. Now that's a stroke of genius.
You know, there are so many ways to communicate nowadays. There's texting, there's email, there's Facebook. What happened to writing a note or a letter? I think it's a lost art. We have somebody here, Carol Ann McCarthy, who's here to talk about letter writing. Carol Ann, is this really a lost art? Tell me it isn't.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Great,
you know, we have so many things from the past that are just beautiful things that even though we have new inventions, there's no reason we have to lose the things from the past. For example, we have automobiles, but we still walk and hike and bike, and that's good for us. We should do that. We have electricity, but don't you like candlelight sometimes?
Oh, sure.
We have furnaces to keep us cozy and warm, but yet it's really nice to have a fire in our fireplace that's romantic. So just because we have new means of communication, we can still write beautiful letters that are lasting and personal and expressive and human-made, you know, not machine-made.
Thank you.
Made by hand.
I have to tell you, you're preaching to the choir with me. I brought this on. This is a box that my husband and I have kept for years. We save every single thing we've ever written to each other, whether it be like a card or a letter. And actually, there's more than this. It overflowed. But I wanted to bring that as a visual. But you have so many beautiful things here to show us. So who do you actually write to? Is it always your spouse or your family member?
No. Well, of course, I do write to family and friends. But, you know, there's a big world out there, and it's so exciting to get to know some of those people. I write to people from California to Massachusetts to Switzerland to the Netherlands to England.
Time out.
And, well, you know, when you write to all these people, your world gets bigger.
Well, true, and that's through email. So I have to tell you, it's easy to get on the email and do all that global stuff. And I think about postage and airmail, and so help me understand that. You really think this is a good thing to do with people globally, writing letters globally?
Absolutely. It expands your world and makes your world, the whole world, a friendly neighborhood.
I agree with you. So, How do you find people to write
Well,
to?
there are lots of ways, but my 3 favorite ways are, number 1, you join a letter writing club, like the Letter Exchange, which is the club I belong to. They publish a magazine a few times a year filled with ads that you can answer, people who will answer you, who like to write letters, and that's great. But you know, another thing that I've discovered, when you are traveling and you meet people that you relate to, right? You relate
like
to them,
on planes?
right, anywhere. And you think, boy, I like this person. Too bad they live in Nova Scotia. Well, you know, they could be a correspondent. I have met people on cruises that I became correspondents. I was just at a country inn this summer, and I met a lady from Syracuse, New York. So sweet. We're correspondents.
Oh, my gosh.
Once I went to the Norman Rockwell Museum in Stockbridge, Massachusetts, and talked to the Dawson artist there. He happened to be from our area in Ohio, and we had so many things in common.
And so now you're writing.
We're correspondents.
Okay.
I mean, so you can
That's
always
amazing.
just speak up to people you know, but there's another way. There are these delightful little friendship books, very popular in Europe, and they're catching on in America. People put their name and address and maybe a few favorite things in these books and send them to a pen friend who
that's so
sends them
cute.
to a pen friend who
these.
sends them to a pen friend. They go from Australia to Japan to Kentucky to Toledo, and I made one, and I put one in almost every letter. The last page says, when filled, please return to Carol Ann.
That is
And then I
really-
get my little books in the mail, and I think, look, all these new people to write to.
Everybody likes to get mail.
Absolutely.
If you like to get mail and you might want to send mail, you can get a hold of Carol Ann at your website at www.carolannmccarthy.com. Thank you so much
You
for
are
being
so
here. This is
welcome.
really cool.
Well, thank you.
We'll be back with more of Can You Relate?
You're ready to date, but the question is the person you're interested in you? To find out if the answer is yes or no, answer yes or no to these questions. Does the person hold your glance for more than 3 seconds? Does the person do things to get your attention and to make you laugh? Does this person always seem to pop up unexpectedly where you are? Does the person blush and get nervous when talking to you?
You know, if you answered yes to 3 out of the 4 questions, there's a good chance that the person who you're interested in might be interested in you. The thing is that if somebody's interested in you, they're probably not going to come over and say, hi, I like you. That's probably not going to happen. What's going to happen is you've got to be aware of the nonverbal cues that they're giving you. Do you know that 93% of communication is nonverbal? That has to do with what you're doing with your face, what you're doing with your gestures, what you're doing with your posture. So pay attention. If you're interested in someone and they're doing things like moving closer to you, perhaps touching you lightly or catching your glance and holding it, chances are, you know what, they're probably interested in you. So if you know somebody who would like to take one of these surveys, you can tell them to go on CanYouRelateTV.com. Stick around because we're going to be right back with more.
Just ahead, should thermography replace mammography? Our next guest says yes. See if you agree with her. And later, you and your finances. Now that can be a challenging relationship. We'll help you understand each other.